Hey, welcome to Work the Way, podcast from Mixed Church, where we're talking about learning the way of Jesus. Today's question is, how do I know if I'm a Christian? So the reason I wanted to kind of start with this is because I think it's something that has a lot of different answers depending on where you're coming from, your theological tradition or whatever.
Yep.
The question I don't want to answer is, how do I know if they are a Christian?
Mm-hmm.
How do I know if my coworker? How do I know if my spouse is a Christian?
gotcha.
All that kind of stuff. Because that's not that's way beyond
Yep.
our realm of whatever we're supposed to be worrying about.
Totally.
For this thing here, we're talking about our own personal discipleship for Jesus. So, like, how can I know that I am a Christian? Let's think about this from a lot of the different ways that we hear this question sort of answered. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, did you pray this prayer?
Right.
Were you baptized? Were you baptized as a baby?
Mm-hmm.
Were you baptized let's talk about what it means to actually be a Christian.
Yep.
And then we'll kind of say, well, if that's true of you,
mm-hmm.
then you could say, yeah, with all confidence,
You bet.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah, it's awesome question to be talking about. We had kind of mentioned it a little bit in the first podcast, but just like that, this whole thing, it's not about a confession of faith or like a belief system that Jesus is necessarily after. Not that that's not important.
Yep.
Not that doctrine's not important or a belief system's not important, but like even the demons believe and they shudder, right? And so what sets us apart from someone who's eternally damned to hell, kind of thing, is really, I think, it comes down to obedience. Is our life patterned after the way that Jesus has like lived his?
Yeah.
You know me, I like the Bible. I know you like the Bible, and so I want to just bring in something. John.
Yeah, we both like the Bible.
Yeah, we both
that's
like
important.
that.
So
that's a good thing to understand. I'm not just trying to, get you over on a certain side. John, the Apostle John in 1 John, he said he basically answers this question. He says in 1 John 2, verse 3, he says, "And by this we know that we have come to know him, if we keep his commandments."
Yeah.
He's like, that's how you know.
Yeah.
You know by keeping his commandments. And all of a sudden, he says later on that his commandments are not burdensome.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, for all of our life, I feel like we've tried to better ourselves, and it was a burden on us.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to be something that we were not.
Yeah. Can we just set in this for a second?
Yeah.
Because, like, the idea of getting better as a burden is like, we need to connect to that.
Mm-hmm.
We really need to connect to that because, I mean, even think about our society at the 30,000 foot view. We're trying to get better. We're trying to have a more equitable society. We're trying to like root out racism. We're trying to build more equality for people. There's too many poor among us. There's too many, there's too many people who are disenfranchised. There's too many people out of work. There's too many people with mental health issues. We're trying to help. We're trying to get it all to get better. And we're just kind of seeing that, like, how difficult and painful and heavy and burdensome that actually is.
You bet.
And it causes this intense division, this intense like pain for people. This is really man, what a difficult thing to do to actually get better.
Yeah, because everyone's got their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
I think like we are called to not produce fruit, but bear it.
Yes.
And there's a big difference. When you try to produce fruit, you are the source, right?
Yeah.
If you're bearing fruit, you are tapped into a source, and our source is Jesus. And so, like, I think that when we are right now sitting in like a post-Christian world, that is, I've heard it said that is that's trying to do kingdom things without the king.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about the view. The church is kind of. Who Mark Sayers says it this way. He says that we are kind of haunted by our Christian past. Yeah. Meaning, like, we still have these cathedrals, they're kind of empty and all those kind of things. We still have the same kind of ideals. Right. And we're specifically talking about the West. We're not like, we're getting kind of post-Christian here in the West, and this has nothing to do with, what's happening in the Middle East or like, the Far East or whatever.
This is our context here in America.
Yeah. So in Milwaukee, in Norfolk,
for sure,
we are progressively, kind of continually taking steps further and further away from we'll call it a sort of a Christian ethic
Yeah.
or something. To say that we were a Christian society is probably a bridge too far for me.
I gotcha.
But to say that we were founded on Judeo-Christian values is like sort of like the roadmap for us. I think that makes a ton of sense.
No doubt.
And so as we get to the other side of that,
Mm-hmm.
we're walking into this sort of like haunted landscape where like this thing that built us has been pushed away.
Sure.
We want all the values of the kingdom.
Yep.
We want peace. We want love. We want joy. We want all the things that Jesus is promising, but we just don't want him.
Yep.
Right?
Totally. We want it on our terms.
Yeah.
We want love on our terms.
Yeah.
And so we've redefined it.
This is literally the decision that they make in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, absolutely.
The tree of knowledge of wisdom, good and evil, right? I want all that God has for me. God is like, he's not like he's stingy with his wisdom.
You bet.
It's not like he's stingy with knowledge, and he's not going to teach them what's good and bad.
Right.
But they're just like, I'm going to take it on my terms.
Yep.
This is I can get it. It's for me. And that's the thing that we're still
No doubt.
wrestling with, and that we're seeing it play out on a big scale, and we see it and every society sees it.
Yep.
Every small group of people sees it. It's just like this is that thing, that sin thing that is like gone through all of us and is like destroying us from the inside out,
Yep.
in which we need another way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What is the product of us doing things on our terms?
Yeah.
It's been destruction and brokenness everywhere that you turn. You look in your own life, like I can see patterns, like deep-seated patterns of brokenness that used to define my life.
Yeah.
You look around you, family, friends, perfect strangers. It's brokenness everywhere that you turn. You turn on the television, you read a newspaper, you get on the internet. It's brokenness everywhere we turn. We need a different way for sure, and that's what this is all about. Jesus has a better way.
Yeah.
He is the source. We don't have to produce fruit or produce like what we think is good.
Yeah.
We just tap into the source, and he does it effortlessly through us when we just keep him at the center of our lives.
Yeah. I mean, think like, so how do I know if I'm a Christian? It's that.
Yep.
It's saying, I'm going to put my confidence in the way of Jesus
Absolutely.
for everything.
Yep.
And not some things or whatever. So how can you know? Like honestly, I don't know. If somebody's like, well, I went to church when I was 12 and I prayed a prayer and I've tried to be good and I pray to God sometimes. Like, I don't know where that person's soul is.
Sure.
Like, but I don't want my soul to be in the gray area.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, cause there's going to be a day there is no gray area.
For sure.
And
no doubt.
I don't want to be confused about, I don't want to be walking, that moment, whatever that moment looks like.
Yep.
When I stand before Jesus at the end of my life, I don't want to be like, how did that go?
Yeah.
You know what
No
I mean?
doubt.
Because it's not
Second
like
guessing
he
everything.
hasn't made it difficult to understand.
For sure.
He hasn't given us like a wishy-washy stuff. It's like we add all that gray area into it, but like it's very, very clear. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you read it.
You bet.
know?
You bet.
And so
I think if I can just speak to that just for a second, I think we overcomplicate things, and so we get in our head about that.
Yeah.
It's a good question to be asking, but I really think that like if we just make this as simple as, hey, every single morning you wake up, is the first thing that like comes to your head, and the first like thought that you're thinking, the first things that you're saying is, Jesus, like I just want to follow you today, right? Like the first. I've heard it said the first 15 minutes of your day is kind of like a rudder. It's like a really small part, but it actually directs like the whole of your day.
Yeah.
Just like a rudder directs the whole of the ship, even though it's a small part. I think just taking those first couple moments and just you wake up and the first thought is, Jesus, I just want to be more like you today. I don't exactly know what that looks like or how it's going to play out today, but I want you to know that I'm committed. I want you to know that my confidence is squarely in you. And if we can do that every single day, I don't think that we have to be asking the question, do I know, like, am I in or am I out today? And it's like always this thing. It just, let's simplify it. Let's wake up every single morning and just choose him. And he's gonna we acknowledge him in all of our ways. He makes straight our paths. Right. Proverbs 3.
Totally.
And so like simplifying things. It's a great question to ask, but don't get in your head about it. Like really just simplify.
Don't get worried about it. Yeah, because I mean, we've both had 100 conversations with people who are like worried about their salvation.
You bet.
I haven't felt Jesus lately. Did he leave me? That kind of stuff. And it's like nonsense.
Totally.
No, that's not his character.
Yep, you bet.
John Ortberg, in one of his books, I should be better prepared with these sources. I'm just kind of like, somewhere I think it was this guy. But that's fine. You can Google it. He'll figure it out. Or call John Ortberg.
Sure.
I don't
Got his number here. No.
Yeah. His number? No. Okay. So he's talking about this question. So when it comes down to salvation, how is someone saved? When are they saved? How do we know if they're
Yep.
saved? All that kind of stuff. One of the things he talks about is the way we group people. There's two different kinds of ways of grouping people.
Mm-hmm.
One is by the perimeter.
Yep.
So there's a line that you cross, you get in and do that. So if you
This is eternity is now in session, right?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah. That's it.
There you go.
That's it. That Lucy.
Somebody came prepared.
Somebody actually like listened.
You're
reads
going to
or
explain it a
whatever.
lot better than I could. So go ahead.
So we call this like a bounded set. This
Mm-hmm.
is a group of people who is defined by their boundaries. So maybe Harvard grads.
Sure.
When you graduate Harvard, you become part of that set.
Yep.
It's very obvious to see who's part and who's not because it's there's a clear line to get in and to
bet.
get out. And we try to do that with Christianity,
No doubt.
but that's not in the scriptures at all. That doesn't exist. There's no like, this is the line you cross and now you're in.
Yep.
There's a different way, and I think a much more helpful way to kind of just like to think about it, and it's called it's by proximity. And these things are way more grouped like this. So I think the example he gives in the book is basically bald people, and so you set like the standard as Mr. Clean. This is what it means to be a bald person.
I'm like on that
And
direction.
then
that
yeah,
road.
and so like you're like
Sort of Mr. Clean right
so
now.
I'm like. Probably you wouldn't call me a bald person. I wouldn't call you a bald person, but you're like, you know what I mean? You're
Yep.
like losing hair. But then at some point you're going to go from not bald to bald. Like there's going to be that
Right.
moment.
Right.
But it's not like immediately evident of
Yep.
like exactly when that happened. And some people might call you bald and others might not
For
along
sure.
the road. Like, because it has all to do with like your proximity to the center, that Mr. Clean.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I think our life with Jesus is way more like that.
Yep.
We're as Christians, how do you know that you're a Christian? My 100% my confidence is in him, and my goal is to get as close to the center as
Yep.
possible.
Completely agree.
So I'm going to put the arrow of my heart, the direction of my
Exactly.
life, right towards the center of that thing,
Yep.
and charge with my whole being.
You bet. Like we said before, it's not about a decision. It's about discipleship. It's not about just a moment in time. It's about a trajectory
Yes.
of our life.
Yes.
Our trajectory
I
is
love
heading
that.
towards eternity.
Yes.
It's heading towards Jesus.
Yes.
With every thought that we think and every breath that we take.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes it can be as simple as, like I said before, waking up in the morning and saying, God, I'm setting my heart to you.
Trajectory
The trajectory of my life today.
Love that.
I'm not thinking about, a month from now. I'm not thinking about a year from now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about today. You've gifted me today. Your mercy's new. I'm setting my heart to you.
Yes.
And you lead the way. Like, it's all you,
Amen.
Love it. I like John Ortberg. He's good.
So good.